Welcome to episode 1 of Credit Dynamics. This video, it's all about my personal credit cards. I'll do a brief history of some of these cards and why I got them. I also want to start this channel off with some clear and transparent and honest opinions of the credit cards that I have personally. In the future, I'll do an in-depth review on each one of these cards, and I'm also going to do reviews on other cards as well, explain why I haven't gotten it or why I want to get it. Also, let me say that some of these cards that I have are most likely because they're old and they've been downgraded from an annual fee card to now a $0 annual fee card, so they cost nothing to hold. So let's first cover the $0 annual fee cards. Citi Double Cash, Apple Barclay Card, Amex Delta Blue Card, Discover It, Capital One Quicksilver, Capital One Quicksilver, Chase Freedom Unlimited, American Express Cash, DCU Visa Platinum, American Express Business Blue. Next, I have some store cards that also have a $0 annual fee, so let's cover those. Turnout, Micro Center, Home Depot, King Size, Full Beauty, New York & Co., Wayfair, Overstock.com, Amazon, Jordan's Furniture, and Samsung. Now let's take a look at the cards that I have that have an annual fee. American Express Gold, $250 annual fee. American Express Platinum, $725. That includes the annual fee plus an additional fee for an authorized user. Now all that gives me about $9,000 in business credit and $200,150 in available personal credit. So why do I need all these cards? Well, obviously I don't. But again, I use the benefits from a card. I especially take advantage of 0% interest, and most importantly, the welcome offers. I never pay interest on a credit card because I pay them off each month. Unlike when I was younger, obviously. But I only purchase items that I can afford. But if I do need to let a balance roll over, I make sure that I only purchase it when it's on a 0% card. A lot of these store cards that I have this option now. And most of these cards are fairly easy to get, so why not take advantage of some of these offers? Now sometimes I do let a balance roll over, but again, that's always on a 0% interest card. For example, doing a lot of construction on the house, I just put a deck in that cost about $7,000. That was all bought on a Home Depot card with 0% interest. Also something I bought that I probably didn't need, but I also bought a watch for $8,800 from Turnout. Again, that's 0% interest. I also know the terms of all these cards that I use. By terms, I mean the 0% interest terms. Typically, it's a 0% interest on $299 or a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time. Home Depot, for example, is typically $299, 0% interest for 6 months. Now, I don't like keeping a balance on any of these cards, and typically I do pay them off much faster than necessary, much faster than the terms. But you got to keep an eye on what the terms are, because it might be a case where if you go past the 6 months, they're going to charge you all that interest. It's just safe to pay off the balance before that 6 months. Now, a lot of people don't like store cards because they typically don't offer you any perks or benefits to use outside of that store. But for building credit, I think they're great. They're typically a little easier to get, in most cases anyway. They can help you build your credit history. And again, they can help you buy things with a 0% interest if you need. For store cards, I suggest you just look at the ones that you know you're going to use. Make it worth your while to have it. Now, I do have a few cards that I hardly ever use. For example, New York & Co. It's a women's clothing company. It's kind of good, I guess, that they don't have anything for me to buy, so I don't go shopping. But I use it every so often. I buy gifts. And honestly, I got this card when I was trying to build up my credit. And it was an easier card to get. They didn't do any credit pull. It's an instant approval. I'll do a video on those cards that I have with no hard credit pull. I have a few of those. So now let's move on to the real credit cards that I have. And like I said in my introduction video, my credit score was in the low 500s when I started. So a lot of these cards helped me build up to an 800 in certain ways. For example, I had a bunch of debt. I had balances on a bunch of credit cards with high interest rates. So I checked for pre-approvals and I applied for a couple. These are no interest balance transfer cards. Some of them do have a 3 or 5% transfer rate, but that's a small fee in comparison to what I was paying on multiple cards with very high interest rates. So I got a Discover card, a Chase Freedom Unlimited, a Citi Simplicity card, which I later upgraded to a Citi Double Cash, and then I also opened up an Amex Cash card. Now some of these cards give me a $4,000 or $5,000 credit limit. American Express gave me a $1,000 credit limit. I transferred all of that debt that I had on my Capital Ones and my DCU card, and I stopped using those cards altogether. All those cards that had a high interest rate. And then the cards that now have a balance on it, they just went into a drawer, never to be touched, just to be paid off. So then I used one credit card at that point, the Amex Cash card. That gave me 18 months, 0% interest on all purchases. So everything I bought was on that one card where I could control it, keep track of everything daily, everything I spent. It all got paid off as I go. And I also earned a couple $100 in cash back as well. Rewards were something like $500 or $600 in addition to a $250 bonus offer. So over time, I was diligent. I paid everything off at a much cheaper rate than a loan or trying to make the payments to all of these high interest cards itself. So after working myself out of that debt, my score went up and I got access to much better cards. It was the cash back from the Amex that made me look at cards a little bit differently and say, that's free money. Just on money that I spent anyway on things that I needed. I didn't buy anything specific. I didn't buy anything on purpose just to get the cash back. I didn't even consider the 1.5% cash back anything to care about at the time. I was just trying to get myself kind of out of that debt. And like I said before, if I bought all of that on my debit card, I would have earned nothing for it. So now along the way, I asked for credit limit increases. I went from $1,000 on Amex to $20,000. I went from $4,500 on Citi to just over $19,000. I also upgraded when possible. For example, Citi Simplicity went to Double Cash, which is 2% cash back on every purchase. I also upgraded my $39 annual fee Capital One Platinum cards to $0 annual fee Quicksilver cards. Those were old Capital One Platinum cards that I got when my score was pretty bad and I couldn't really get good cards. So right now I use mainly American Express just for the points. In my opinion, American Express has the most valuable points in the whole credit card game. I have roughly 250,000 points. Currently, I guess you could value those at roughly $1,200 to $5,000 to $6,000, depending on how aggressive you are when trading in those points. So I use my Amex Platinum for travel-related purchases, my Gold for food-related purchases, and my Blue Cash business card for mostly everything else. And that gives me 5x points, 4x points, and 2x points on all purchases. All these cards are designed to give points for certain purchases. I make use of all those strategies and I've built up quite a bit of points in just a very short time. There's big spenders out there that have millions of points, but even 250,000 points is a great value just for buying the things that I need to buy on a daily basis anyway. So if you have these cards or you're looking to get into getting these cards, trust me, you'll know which cards offer the best value for which purchases. So now what about these cards that I hardly use anymore? Well, you should always keep these cards active, especially if they're $0 annual fee. If you have a card that has an annual fee and you can't downgrade and you don't want to pay it, maybe that's the case to cancel the card. But other than that, always keep the card active, especially for your credit history and the account age. But what I do is I go on Amazon. I've added all of these cards that I have to the payment methods, and every so often I'll go in and I'll add a dollar or two from each of the card that I haven't used in a while just to a gift card balance. Now they've been used and I make that payment real quick and they're active. So something like that takes me maybe 5 minutes. I do it once every couple months, 6 months or so. It helps me maintain these cards and my 800 credit score. That's to me worthwhile of the trouble just to get the pre-approved loans, the high credit limits, instant credit approvals, low interest car loans, unnecessary things too, like a watch. And you can do this too. So now obviously if you do have debt, you can use the same process, use these balance transfer cards. Depending on your income, obviously it can be a quicker or a longer process than it took me, but you can get yourself out of debt. And I'm going to cover a lot of these cards, especially the balance transfer cards, in the near future as my channel builds. So please subscribe, follow along, and reach out to me, comment down below. Let me know things that you'd like me to cover. Ask any questions that you might have. I'll be looking for feedback along the way, and I'd like to build this channel together. So thank you for watching episode 1, and I'll see you in the next video.
From the ghetto, ain't no limit, cause we living large. Brought a Rolex, a yacht with a gold car. What you done lately? Your girl wanna date me. Give her 3 or 4, and I'm straight, G.